is outside, but I don't know if I'll have to get up and take care of these kids. All right, everybody got the data set? You guys ready? All righty. So open the Mila house, the Mila start file. And I am on level 1. This is where we left it last time. And let's talk about how to prepare graphically a plan so that it looks better in a floor plan. A lot of people at the beginning said, oh, Revit is not very good comparison with AutoCAD regarding line style. But I'll show you ways in which you can edit your floor plan so that it come alive with different line styles and line graphics. This is particularly important for quality control and standardization across board. So if you open the south elevation, sorry, the east elevation, you're going to find this is a projection view where I apply some graphical options to allow this view to have these particular graphic values. It's still a technical view, but it's not a photorealistic view. It has a custom override to the site, and it has a view depth applied to it. If you look at it, the borders or the contours of the house display a different line weight. And I'm going to show you how to prepare a view to have a look similar like that. This is not the only look, and we'll work with options. All right, so I'm gonna show you how to prepare these for another of the views. So this open the south elevation, and when you hover over the south elevation, notice that this is if you don't. This is the thing with Revit. When you create a view, either a detail view, a floor plan, or enlarged view, the result you're going to get is not going to come pretty. So there's this need to invest a little bit of time in cleaning the view and make it look a little more impactful from the way it is presented to you. And so the first thing is to hide the categories that you don't need. And you can do this via visibility graphic, VG. Or if you use the right click, that's probably a better choice. So in this view, if we're preparing this, say you are going to publish this Revit views in a magazine, and you want to like prepare these elevations so that they look better. There are things you can freeze by category just via right click. So the first thing I'm going to do is freeze the grids. So select one of the grids, right click, and then hide in view by category. So this is exactly the same as using visibility graphics, VG. So rather, it's a little more intuitive because you don't have to look for the category in the tabular display, but you can just right click and it will hide that checkbox. So right click and hide in view the category. I'm also going to hide the levels, although if the levels need to be part of the view, you could change the scale, make it smaller. I'm just gonna hide it. Hide in view category. Okay. Notice that there is some light here, and then you can see the point. This is the origin point of the building. And another thing we need to be aware is the crop region of a view. You can enable or disable the crop region using this crop view checkbox. So under the extent, you see this checkboxes. Select the one that says crop view. And then the other one, it's also a good one, crop region visible. And also select the other one that says annotation crop. All right, so this is the size of a viewport. In viewport is in AutoCAD, in Revit it's called crop view. The crop view, it's like a window into the 3D space. And by default, it will extend to the full geometry existing in the model. But you can resize the crop view by grabbing these shape handles or these buttons that are in the drawing. So you can just resize it by dragging in and out. Again, resize it, dragging in. Yeah, and so you're cropping the size of the of these. When you select a crop view, you can look at the size crop, and this will tell you the printed size of this image of this view at this scale. So when this view is dragged and dropped into a sheet, the size of it is going to be 24 inches by 15 inches. So the crop size, it's a factor that is directly related to the scale of the view. So if we change the scale of the view, we're changing the crop size. Let's do an example. This is 1/8 of an inch. Let's see if we do this at 1/16. And then look at the size crop again. Notice that now I didn't do anything. I didn't change the size of the crop view. All I did is change the scale. And now it's smaller. This is 14 inches by 9. Does that make sense? So again, this is a small rule. The size of the model crop is directly proportional to the scale of the view. It's like applying a scale factor to something and scale it up. It just happened in the background. Okay, so Ruth had a question. I cannot access the browser or the properties. So you don't have these windows open, Ruth?
No, it won't let me do that. And then when I click, it says there's some sort of an error. So I don't know.
So
yes.
Do you see the property windows or the project browser?
No.
When you right click, you can enable it. The very last option in the right click, it enables the properties. See, I close it and then I enable it here. No?
No, it's not letting me do any of that.
I'd love to look at your monitor if you don't mind sharing. Let me stop share here.
Yeah, let me.
It might be something easy. Okay,
So when I opened what I downloaded your file and this is what opened, so it doesn't look like the pale blue image that you have.
Yeah, because you need the project browser. So go to the view tab here.
Where?
The view tab, you see Mass Insight Collaborate View. Yeah. And the last button is the user interface and enable properties. That checkbox that says properties. And where is it? Do you have two screens by chance? Two monitors?
Yeah. And this is what happens when I try to do that.
When you enable the properties, you get this message?
When I did the first thing before I came to the user interface and I tried to right click, this is the message that I got.
That is odd. Let me see. I'm going to try to control your machine for a second. If you allow me to, just click OK.
Okay. Oh, okay. Wait a minute. Let me see if this is. Here it is.
There it is. That's the properties.
Okay.
Now you need the project browser, which is
here's the project browser.
Oh, there you go. Okay, so now
right.
Open the south elevation. There you go.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then in the property windows, enable the crop view checkbox.
Properties.
So the properties is right below, right next to the project browser. Yes. And then you see the crop. Oh, you have it open. So just zoom out. Oh, make the crop region visible in that checkbox that we just look at it. Crop view, crop region visible, that one. And then just resize it.
And then what?
Resize that big box. Yeah. You can
all right, thank you. Sorry, folks.
No problem. Okay, I'm going to share my screen here again. We selected that crop. We changed the scale root. The scale it's in the lower left corner of the view controls, and I changed it to 116. Okay, let's talk about these properties here. So if I disable the crop view, I'm going to see the entire geometry again. Notice that it's like switching off the crop region, but you still see the boundary. If you disable the crop region visibility, it's going to switch off the line. And sometimes we want that so that it doesn't print in a sheet. When we place these views into a sheet, we disable the crop region visibility so that it doesn't print. Then there's another one called here annotation crop. And the annotation crop is this dotted line here. The region between the crop view line And the annotation, it's available space for annotations. So this is a region where you can place keynotes or text with arrows or symbols. And if they are contained within this region, then they're going to be visible in the view. I'll give you an example. You don't have to do this. I'm just demonstrating. If I do a text and I call this pine tree from Norway. So you see how it disappeared? And the reason it disappeared is because it's falling outside of the annotation crop. And so when I move this inside here and want to enable again the crop regions, still overlapping the annotation crop. So this text, it's only going to show up if it's completely contained by the annotation crop. All right, here it goes. If this text touches this line, or they fall outside of the line, that text disappears. Like I'm doing now. It disappeared. It didn't go away. It's just hidden. And you can get it back by switching off the annotation crop. So why is the annotation crop, why is it important? And here's the reason. The annotation crop usually describe the size of a detail real estate in a sheet. So yeah, that square typically is about between 7 and 7.5 in a 24 by 36 sheet. And if you're creating a detail and you want it to be perfectly enclosed by a square that it's 7.5 by 7.5, then your annotation boundary needs to be 7.5 by 7.5, and then you resize. You do it like this, and then all this space right here is for your keynotes and your annotations and arrows and text. So it protects the view from bleeding objects that might interfere other details. And so the annotation crop, it's also accessible when you do edit crop. And notice that there are edit crop offsets here. So what this is saying, I mean, all of these are the annotation crops. To the right, I have 4.5 or 5 inches to place text, and then 1 inch all around to play additional text if needed. So the total size of the crop is 8.5, 8.75 by 7/11/16. And so if you're a technical detailer, this is probably matters to you, because we want to make sure that the entire detail fits in the right crop size. And so, but if we're doing overall floor plans, maybe we disable it. Like if we know it's a single sheet in an entire, it's a single view in an entire sheet. So maybe we don't need the annotation crop. We need the annotation crop when we want to ensure that the crop has the right size. All right, so I'm going to resize this and remove this piece of text. I think I have the categories that I needed. But now I'm going to also take care of some of the, look at this reference planes. I can right click and hide them as well. Right click, hide in view, category. All right, if you take a look, when I enable shadows in a view, the full location of the sun is a distant sun that it's 45 degrees in the or 30 degrees from no 45 degrees from the azimuth, so from the east, 45 degrees, and then 30 degrees in the height. That is the location of a generic sun. This sun has nothing to do with the right sun visibility in Norway. But sometimes we use that generic sun just to give the elevations the same value of the same readability. And so to access those values, just click on the sun icon in the view controls and hit the sun settings. And here it goes. So the azimuth is 135 degrees. And the altitude is 35 degrees. And the start of the angle is always the north. So 135 degrees. Actually, no. The measure it's from the west. And this is a setting that we do on the projects. So the altitude is 35 degrees from the ground, and the azimuth is 135 degrees from the north. So 135 degrees and then 35 degrees in height. All right, that's the generic sun. All right, but this, if you look at closely, it looks bland, or it looks like blah. It needs line weight. And this is what people sometimes don't understand, that if you know how to modify or control the settings in Revit, you can really get really good results. And so to bump the line weights of this, you have to access the graphic options. And those are available under the, if you click the visual style, is the second icon from the lower left. Here are your graphic display options. If any takeaway from today is this one. Here are your power line weights. If you learn how to use the graphic display options, you can really control, or you can really have a better control how your graphics look like. And you don't have this blend single line weight boring plans. Okay, so let's access the graphic display options. This is a dialog box that allows you to change how things are displayed in the view. So it's like an extension of the view controls. In fact, I think the graphic display option has more power than the view controls. So the first one, you see this silhouettes. Silhouettes, it's all the outermost geometry of the model. And you can change this to another line weight. So change this to wide lines, for example, and hit apply. And you see how immediately all the boundaries of the geometry receive this heavy line weight. And it looks far much better than the original one. The line weights, that's another topic. You can use the out-of-the-box line weights, but you can also create your own line weights and your own shaded line weights. In particular, when we're dealing with details, you need to have a collection of different line weights and line styles in order to come across or describe and enhance your model. So silhouettes allow you to assign a different line weight to the model. Let's go to the next one. This is called shadows. This is casting shadows, and you see when you disable it, all the shadows are gone. The shadows really make the geometry pop. And there's another one called show ambient shadows. And you see there's a little shade that happens at the boundaries of the planes, and that is ambient shadows. You can control the intensity in the next settings. All right, the other one is this called depth cueing. Depth cueing is controls give a sense of depth to the current view. And so it's a relative measure. It goes from 0, which is the place where you're cutting the elevation or where the section is happening. And far, 100% means 100% of the geometry is captured within this range. And so, and if you enable it, the show depth can be disabled. Notice when I disable the depth cueing, everything looks with the same line weight, like there's no sense of depth. But when you enable it, it gives you this gray. Objects are far away, are lighter, and items that are at the front of the view, they display better. And how gray things look in the background are controlled by this fade limit percentage. And so it goes from 0 to 100. Again, this is the if you go lighter, it makes the objects in the far a little lighter. So far objects are controlled, the line weight are controlled by this. Right. And then if you move this forward and apply it, then you see the elements from far start looking darker. So depending on what your goals are, then you can choose to grade out things in gray tone or not. All right, the other one is lighting. Right now, the sun setting, when it says in session lighting, that is 135 degrees and the 35 degrees in height. I'm going to leave it as is. The other is how strong you want the shadows, the sun, and the ambient light. So if you increase the shadow, for example, the shadows are going to start looking darker, you see. The ambient light, it's light from every direction. And if you increase it, it's going to make your scene looks a little clear. This is more evident when you have for a realistic view enable. And then the sun is how strong is the sunlight. Let's see, this doesn't have an impact here. Again, there's no light reflection in this view, it's all hidden. So changes in the sun and the ambient light don't kick until you change the view to for a realistic view, and we're not doing that. All right, the other is this background. The background is what you want to see in the back of your image. And so Again, you go back to graphic display options, and if you want to display gradient, you can do that. I like the colors out of the box of the gradient and apply. Give this nice scale of this dark color is what you see the horizon to look. If you don't like that, you can just turn that white. So you go back to graphic display options and go to background. You see the ground color has this color. You can make it look black, white, and it sort of blends with the site. And so with just few changes, I'm starting to see differences in how this elevation look like. I can also make use of the right-click override in order to display things in a different value. For example, I'm going to try to apply a black color to all the cut line, very thick. And you can do that via right-click. So when you select the site in the view, hit right-click and hit override graphic in view by element. So this is the equivalent of changing the properties of a single element and changing this just for this view. So this site with this black override, it's only going to be accessible and visible in this view. So you go by element here, and then you're presented with a view, specific graphic controls. This control the projection line, surfer pattern, cut pattern, etc. And what I want is when the elevation marker cuts the site, I want it to be solid black. And so that is a cut pattern. The cut pattern needs to be solid fill, and the color is black. So two changes. And this is right click, select the site, right click, override elements, override graphic by elements. And this is going to change the ground cut. There you go. This is the street. Remember that we split the street, the axis. So I have to do that again for this as well. Select it, override graphic in view by element, and then apply the cut pattern, solid, color, black. There you go. The origin is there. It's not going to print, but if I want to switch it off, I just go visibility graphic, VG, S for site, and under site, disable. Oh, it's disable the origin, the private base point, and the project and the survey point. All right, and now I'm just gonna crop this a little better. I'm gonna crop this here to this, and yeah, this looks much better than the first section that I have. Any question here? You want me to repeat any step here?
Caesar, this is Jim. It seemed like for my model, some of these tools did not work, like the silhouette, and others did work, like shadows does work.
Can you make sure? Can you make sure you disable the thin line, because thin lines makes everything thin.
I don't think I did. Let's see. So Oh, I didn't do that. No. Okay.
Thin lines, it's a temporary display that display everything very thin.
So you disable that. Okay.
Disable it, and then when you zoom in, you should see that it's should be darker if you enable the silhouettes.
Okay, I'll try it. Thank you.
Any other question? All right, and here you go. So we did all this work to massage the elevation and make it look pretty, right? And then when I open the west elevation, I'm like, oh, do I have to do this again all over? And so what we can do is create what's called a view template. And I think we did this a while ago for floor plans. But we can, a view template is a snapshot of the visibility controls and the view graphics applied to a view, saved and applied to another view so that you can have the same representation style from one plan to another plan. So I'll show you how to create a view template. So if this meets the criteria that you want for your typical elevations, then you can go to the View tab and then go to the View Templates. And the second choice is Create Template from Current View. Again, go to View tab, the drop-down list of view templates, and create template from current view. And the name of this, I'm going to call it elevation dash presentation. So you're preparing this for a presentation. And then this is the view template dialog box that provides you a last chance to have a greater granular control over what properties are controlled by the setting. So in this panel on the right side, these are properties of the view. And this checkbox says that if this checkbox is enabled, those properties are going to be included as part of the template. So you may choose to exclude certain properties. For example, the scale, like when the template is applied, it's automatically going to make this 116 and it's going to apply all the graphic overrides that you see in this dialog box. But you can selectively exclude certain elements. The only thing that are not going to apply from one view to another are the element overrides. Element overrides is when you select one element and then you change it. So we did that for the site, for the topography. That setting is not going to kick in because it was a individual element. It wasn't driven by templates. So I created this elevation presentation, then I hit OK. And now the template is created. So I go back to the west elevation, which needs love, right? And so instead of doing this manually again, you apply the template. And in the properties of the view, that on the left side, if you scroll down, you're going to find a parameter called view template. The view template, when it says none, means that you can make any graphical change. But when a view template is applied, it's going to freeze this. All the view controls will be gray. You won't have access to the view controls because all of them are driven by the template. And so if you want to change anything about the view, you have to change the template. And you can change the template in the view template box. All right, so let's apply the template. Go to the view template, hit this button, and select elevation presentation. All of these are gonna kick in, so click OK. Ooh, and my house also disappeared. Let's see what happened here. I think what happened here is the view depth is not correct. So to remove the template, just change this to none, and then it will unlock the properties again. So I'm going to undo this and study what's going on. I'm going to go to the floor plan. These are my elevations. And notice how this elevation has a view depth of 150 feet. And then the east elevation. Oh, the east elevation doesn't have view depth because it doesn't have a far clip. So, okay. So elevation and sections may or may not display a far clip offsets. And so notice how it says here, far clip offset has no clip. When it says no clip, that means that everything is going to be visible. And that's what I need to assign to the east elevation or the west elevation. So if I go to the west elevation, make sure that you enable these three things, no clip, and then apply the view range, the view template. View template, elevation presentation. And why did it go away? Oh, here is the far clip offset needs to be 200. There you go.
Can you stop there for a second?
What was the question?
I just wanted to make sure I've got the right things clicked.
Okay.
Your offset is 200 feet.
Something is not registering.
I can't change the far clip offset.
Does it says clip with line here or no?
It's not grayed out like yours is.
It's not grayed out. So the reason it's grayed out is because I have a view template apply. I'm going to remove it, change this to none. And so the far clip offset has these choices: clip with line, clip without a line, or not clip. I think we need to change to not clip. When you don't clip it, it has unlimited view. So this value, the far clip offset, doesn't kick in if the far clip it says no clip. The other choices is clip with a line and clip without a line. There's subtle differences between clip with line. It means that there is a plane in the background, and an intersection of that plane with the geometry will generate a projection line. But right now, if you leave this as no clip, then it won't generate any far clip offset. So this distance is irrelevant when the far clip offset is set to not clip. So then I'm going to click these three things. Okay, so notice the things that didn't kick in. The site, and I think I mentioned, this was a element override, and I can change it individually. So you can control select both the axis and the axis street and the topo surface, and then override graphics in view by element. Override graphics in view by element, and the cut pattern needs to be solid and color black. And that makes that, let's change the color. And the same I'm going to do with the axis street, override graphic in view by element, and change the foreground to solid black and the color to black. The other thing that did a kick was the far clip offset the graphic display options. There is the depth queuing. It is the same it was before, but these trees are really in the front of the elevation, so that's why they appear very dark as opposed to the other one. And you can see that just with few clicks, when you use view templates, you can really get a very good approximation to the final elevation just by applying the same sets of rules. All right, and we can continue doing this for each elevation, but the south elevation and the east elevation, they all look similar now as far as values. And so view templates, these are your best friends forever. You gotta use the view templates. The view templates is what provides a consistent line weight display from one view to another view. And if you want all your floor plans to have the same line weight, the same control, then apply view templates. So I did not mention it's when a view template is applied, and I'm going to apply it here again. I apply the view template because the view template here, it says elevation, presentation, and then you can't edit anything about this. You see the sunset isn't gray out. The view display is grayed out. The granular display is grayed out. There's nothing you can do. You can't edit the properties of this view because they are, and if you scroll up, look at all these properties are grayed out. Discipline, reference label, scale, display mode, detail level, all of it is grayed out because it's driven by the template. And if you want to change the template, just do it directly here where it says view template, where it says manage view template. Then this gives you access to all the templates in the view. And if you need to change something about this view, then change it here. For example, I'm going to, you don't have to do this, but I'm going to change, I'm going to apply this template to all my views. View template, elevation presentation. And then I'm going to go to the north Go to the east elevation and apply the view template. Elevation presentation. And the same happened here. So I need to change the, before I apply the template, I need to apply this far clip offset to no clip, and then apply the template. The template has this clip online, so I just want to change this to 200 or 500. All right, so I have changed, I have applied the template to 3 views. And I was gonna change, I was gonna show you, and I'm gonna tile them. WT, zoom extend. And this doesn't count. Rather than making changes individually to each of the views, I just access the view template. And in the view template, I say, okay, I really don't want that shadow gray color, that gray gradient color in the background. So you change it in the view template. So I select the view template. I select the background here, and I say, okay, for the sky color, instead of these, I want this. And now all the views react to the changes in the template. And the same is true with the line weights. So if you want all your walls to have a thicker line weight, or all your views to have a specific element by category, then you can change it here. For example, now I decided that the trees shouldn't show up. So you go to visibility graphic, you say VG here, visibility graphic model. And then I'm going to select the plantings, switch it off in the template. And then when I hit OK, all the plants across all the views that have the same template are going to disappear. And it's easier to control your views using view templates than it is to do it one by one. That makes sense? All right, I'm going to do that, and let's go back to details. Any question here? View templates. You want me to repeat anything? All right, so let's talk about sections and details. There's a section in the floor plan here. If you scroll down and open section 2, this is supposed to be a technical section, and notice how both the walls and they have the right line weight that I want. I'm going after this dark presentation mode type of sections, but there may be a detail here that I need to communicate. And so in Revit, you can create callouts, and a callout is an enlarged plan at a specific area in the model. So again, open section 2 in the view. We're going to create an enlarged plan at this corner condition. So you create callout. You go to rectangle, and then use create a rectangle from here to here. And this detail, it's created. Where is this detail? It will be under the project browser, under the floor plan. Let's see if I open this. Actually, it's here, section 2 callout. I'm going to rename it, and I'm going to call this detail at slab edge. And so this is the building section. It comes, when you select it, it has these 4 grips that define the size of the viewport. And so you can manipulate it here, and then it's going to resize the crop view of the detail. It also has this bubble that you can relocate. The grip that is very close to the circle allow you to relocate that symbol. You see, all I'm doing is clicking on these little grip, and I'm going to put it right here. And then the grip that is like at the midpoint of this leader allows you to create an arm and an elbow. So if you click on that one, then you can create this a straight arm and an elbow. That makes sense?
Can you repeat how to create the detail bubble, please?
Yeah, I'm going to delete this here. And you go to View tab,
Yeah.
call out. And then your switch, you have to create a rectangle in this. Oh, in the, sorry, in the
Sorry, I'm slow. You go to View tab and then what?
View
Call
tab,
out. Yeah, got it.
and then
Mhm.
call out.
Yeah.
Before you
Correct.
place anything on the view, pick
Mhm.
we need to pick the right view type. And this is in this type selector. And notice that there are 3 types of, you have section detail, building section, or wall section. I wanted to create a detail section. So pick the first choice here. And then I create a rectangle. Maybe your first click is in the lower left side of this corner of this view. And then the other one is right here. And that is a detail view, and it's going to be grouped under the detail view here. You see it says detail 0. That is my new detail. And you can rename.
We should start over instead of to get it out of the section and into the detail view.
Oh, no, all you can do, for you guys who did it with me the first, just right click. Sorry, when I do this, what is it? Right click and edit type, I think. No, you cannot do it. Yes, I'm sorry, you have to delete it. You can change between wall section and building section, but you cannot change to detail view. So yes, start over. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to delete this again, and let's do it together. So you go to the View tab, and then hit the call out button. And before you create the call out, pick the appropriate view type and pick the one that says detail. And then pick the first point in the enlarged view boundary, the second one, and your detail view will be called detail 0 on the detail views. And let's rename it. This will be a detail at slab edge. And this is the symbol of the enlarged detail. And you can just click on, you're going to see a lot of grips, the grip, the dark circle or the blue circle that is next to the bubble, allow me to relocate that bubble. The grip that is at the center of the arm allow me to create an arm and an elbow. And right now this is empty because it's not in a sheet. The moment I drop this detail into a sheet, then it's going to populate with the sheet information. You all with me? You with me, Ruth?
Yep.
Awesome. All right, so let's open the detail. And again, this is the raw geometry coming from Revit. It is not glamorous. It needs a lot of work. You can't just present this detail. Your contractor is gonna go nuts. So we have to do something to the geometry in order to enhance it and represent the objects as they should be at a detail level. The first thing I'm going to do is change the scale. This is a detail that by default goes to a half an inch equal 1. And this is the result of the view type by default is set up to a half of an inch. And maybe we change this to 1.5 equal 1. Notice how the line weights all scale up and down according to the view. If this was like a detail that 1/16, you see those line weights. So the line weight scale according to the scale of the view. All right, so here I'm going to pause for a second and talk about line weights, lines and line weights. And so under the Annotate tab, this is what we in a typical process, what happens is that the descriptive information that you get from the geometry in Revit sometimes is not enough or doesn't have the enough detail to be translated in a quality enlarged quality detail. And so we need to enhance this view with two-dimensional objects. For example, we need to show here the appropriate siding. Like this has wood siding. We need to add the appropriate insulation. We need to add a way to anchor this to the ground, and we need to add a metal J, and all this additional information that we need to properly detail this is going to be sitting on top of the view. And the reason that it doesn't make sense to model all these elements. It's just too time consuming to model every wood element in a project. All right, and so what I'm going to do now is to do that. I'm going to add more information to the three-dimensional view. And the first thing I'm going to do is to switch off the internal properties of the walls. And so one way to do that is to switch the detail level to coarse. And notice how coarse display this black thing. So I'm going to leave it as medium. Medium is fine. Okay, and so to hide things that are not properly modeled, you can hide them individually. For example, I'm going to go to visibility graphic here. And then no, not here. I'm gonna go to the modify tab. Modify tab is the last tab in the upper right side. Modify tab, and this is a tool called line work. It's under modify tab. Is next. It's next to the measure tools. This is line work. So line work allows you to access specific line segments contained inside the families and apply a graphic override. So line work allow you to individually select line representation in a wall and switch it to an invisible line, or change its color, or change its line weight altogether. And I'll give you an example here. These two lines need to be switched off in this view. And so the way to do that is I'll go on the modify tab, hit the line work. When I enable that, you're going to see a line style menu popping on the right side of the ribbon. And when you click, the line styles in brackets are system line weights, meaning that this is the minimum that Revit requires to operate. You notice that there's one that's called invisible lines. So if something doesn't look right in the 3D geometry, you can hide it at the detail level. The best thing will be maybe to modify the 3D model, but sometimes when we're in a rush, we really just hide lines. So invisible lines, and then you select this line, and then until it goes, it should go away. And it's changing it to gray, but it's not kicking it. I'm sure where it's not going away. It's changing it to gray. I don't know why it's supposed to go. Let's try another one. Let's see this. So you see that line disappear because I hit it several times and until it disappear. So you can hide individual elements. Let's see, to access the internal lines, I have to, I think it's on visibility graphics, walls, and disable the hidden lines, common edges, and wall sweeps. There you go. So if you go to visibility graphics, you can disable these three things about the walls, and then the wall will appear clear. You want me to repeat anything? You guys with me here? So line work, invisible line, allow you to switch off just a line of a component. And then visibility graphics, go to walls and switch off the three subcategories, hidden line, common edges, and wall sweeps. That's going to switch off all the components inside a wall. Okay, and so what do we need here? We need a representation of plywood. We need a representation of the insulation and a representation of the siding outside. And so let's talk about lines. So if there's a need to use more lines here, you can use whatever is available on their annotate detail line. And the line style give you access to all the lines that ships out of the box. So the line weights with these brackets means that they are system line weights. And what that means is that they come out of the box and you cannot delete them. Those are the minimum line weights required to work in Revit. But you can create your own custom line styles, and I'll show you how. But sometimes you're going to need other type of line weights. You're going to need like thin line gray, thin line dash line, thin line hidden, medium line gray, medium line dotted line, medium line dash line. And for all these different variations of line weight, dash display, then you need to create a custom line style. And so we're going to create a thin gray dash line. And that's not available in the choices that are here. If you have sophisticated template, this should all be taken care of by the template you get started. So your template should provide you with the appropriate line weights. But if there's a line weight that you need and it's not available, you can create it from scratch under the Manage tab. And then you go into additional settings. And then you click line styles. Again, Manage tab, additional settings, line styles. The line styles, when you click the plus sign, you're going to see all the system line weights here. So let's say I need a thin line that has a hidden pattern, hidden dash line, and that it's gray color. So we create a new line style by hitting a new subcategory. And I'm going to call this thin gray dash. Other companies have its own standard. They call it 01, 02, 03, 04, depending on the line weight they represent. But this is thin gray dash, and the line weight is gonna be 1. The color is gonna be light gray, and you can make it a little darker here. And the line pattern, it's hidden. Okay, so notice how there are all these different line patterns, and some of these patterns come with a number. This is the size of the smallest portion of the line style. So hidden 116 means that the size of the dashes when they are printed are 116. So this is 116 is smaller than 1/8, smaller than 316, and you can pick and choose. If you want to be very precise about what's the spacing in the hidden line, then you pick one of these values. 3/32 means that the hidden, you have a 3/32 solid, a 3/32 void, 3/32 solid, 3/32 void. That's your hidden line. I'm gonna put it hidden 1/8. So, and that's it. Hit OK. And now under annotate, you create a detail line. In the drop-down list of choices, now you have thin gray dash. And you can use that thin gray dash line to represent, I don't know, center lines or, and so this is the printed size of the line. So remember I choose 1/8. So what that means is that the printed side of this is 1/8 of an inch. So you can create your own library of line styles, move them into your template, and avoid to go. The user shouldn't be struggling in creating new line styles. They should all be created in your template. But I'm showing you here the process in case you ever need to create a custom line style that is not available in your template. Another one is like, if you want an extra wide line weight, we can do that as well. Let's create it very quickly. And then I think we'll stop here. So you go to the Manage tab, additional settings, line weights, or line styles. Then create a new subcategory. And we're gonna call this extra wide line. And hit OK. And this is gonna be a line weight that is, I don't know, the total number of projection line is from 1 to 16. I'm gonna make it 7, and it's gonna be solid. And so this extra wide line is now available to me. When I go to annotate detail line, in the drop-down list, I have the extra wide line. And this is a super thick line weight. And that line weight is also available, is an available choice if I decide to override cut lines, for example, or anything else. For example, if I want to override the line weight, the cut line weight of this wall, I can go override in view by element. And then I can say, okay, this wall, I wanted the cut line. Instead of object styles, I want them extra, sorry. Oh no, this doesn't pick the line weight, but I can override it here no matter what. I can say this, I want this to be line weight number 7. And you see this whole wall, just for this view, has a different line weight. So I'm gonna do that. The thing here is that you can create your own line styles and use them for different enhancements into the project. All right, so next week, what we're going to do, or next Wednesday, we're gonna build a detail that looks like this. This is the connection between the slab and the wall, and we're gonna create this running detail. It's the wood lap siding is gonna be repetitive detail item. Then we're gonna add the insulation, all of these elements that you put on top of the view to enhance it. We're going to create detail components. We're going to focus a lot discussion, create detail component from scratch. And yeah, and text notes. We're going to do text notes as well. All right, it's almost 7:15. You guys have any questions? You can ask it now, or you can stay over at the end and I can help you one-on-one. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next Wednesday. I'm gonna pause the